In a land of rolling hills, where the golden sun kisses the earth with warmth, and the wind whispers through the trees, there was a village unlike any other. It was a peaceful place, nestled in the heart of the African savanna, where the rhythm of life was in tune with nature's song. The people of the village lived in harmony with the land, their days marked by the rising and setting of the sun, and the steady beating of the drums. In this village, there lived a family who were known far and wide for their love and joy. The father, a tall and gentle man named Kwame, was known for his wisdom and kindness. His hands were strong, and his heart was soft. His wife, Amina, was a woman of grace, her laughter as rich as the earth she tilled. And the daughter, Clara, was the bright star in their lives. She was a girl of only 6 summers, but she carried the light of 1,000 suns in her heart. Her eyes sparkled like the stars at night, and her voice was like the songs of the birds in the trees. Each morning, as the sun rose, Clara would run outside to greet the day. Her father would be already tending to the garden, his hands working the soil with love and care. He would smile when he saw her, his eyes crinkling with affection. "Father, father, look what I found," Clara would shout as she ran to him, holding up a colorful butterfly or a tiny, delicate flower she had picked from the field. Kwame would chuckle, his heart swelling with pride. "Ah, my daughter, you have a heart that sees beauty in all things. You are truly a gift from the gods." Amina, too, would join them after finishing her morning chores. She would stand in the doorway, watching them with a loving gaze, her heart full of joy. The family would sit down to a simple but hearty breakfast, with the aroma of freshly baked bread and the taste of sweet fruit filling their bellies. Life in the village was simple, but it was rich with love, and Clara was the jewel of her family. But in the shadows of this peaceful existence, there were forces at work, forces that Clara could not yet understand. For in the heart of every man, there is a darkness that may one day rise, and for Kwame, that darkness was beginning to stir. As the days passed, the winds of change began to blow through the village, though no one saw it coming. Clara's father, once a man of warmth and laughter, began to grow distant. His eyes no longer sparkled with joy when he looked at his daughter. Instead, there was a strange emptiness in him, a shadow that clouded his once bright spirit. At first, Clara did not understand. She thought it was just a passing mood. "Father, can you help me with this?" she would ask as she played in the yard, her voice filled with innocence. Kwame would nod absently, but his touch, once gentle and loving, grew cold and uncomfortable. Clara felt it in the way his hand brushed against her shoulder or the way he looked at her when she wasn't paying attention. She began to feel uneasy, but she brushed it off. "He is my father," she thought. "He loves me. Maybe I am just being silly." But the unease continued to grow like a storm gathering on the horizon. Clara began to avoid her father, spending more time with her mother, who was always busy tending to the garden or preparing food. Yet, even in her mother's presence, Clara could feel a shift in the air. The house, once filled with warmth and laughter, now felt heavy, as if something unseen was lurking in the corners. One afternoon, as Clara played in the yard, she noticed her father watching her from the doorway. His gaze was intense, and his eyes seemed to pierce through her, though she could not understand why. She stopped playing and looked away, her heart pounding in her chest. The days grew longer, and still, the change in her father persisted. And yet, Clara, with all her innocence, could not see what was coming. The darkness in her father's heart was about to consume them all. It was a morning like any other when the winds of fate blew through the village with such force that nothing would ever be the same again. Amina had gone to the market to sell the fruits and vegetables from the garden, leaving Clara alone with her father. The sun was high in the sky, casting a warm golden light over the village. The air was thick with the scent of earth and flowers. Clara was playing near the garden, unaware of the danger that was closing in on her. Kwame approached slowly, his footsteps heavy on the earth. His eyes, once filled with love, were now cold and unreadable. He stood over Clara, his shadow falling across her small frame. Clara looked up, startled. "Father?" she asked, her voice trembling. Kwame did not answer. He reached down and touched her hair, his fingers lingering for a moment too long. Clara flinched, confusion and fear rising in her chest. But before she could speak, he pulled her close, his grip tightening around her tiny body. "Father, please," Clara whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. But her voice was lost in the suffocating silence. In that moment, Clara's world changed forever. Her innocence was stolen from her, and the world she had once known became a place of darkness and fear. When Amina returned, she found Clara sitting by the door, her face pale and her eyes empty. No words were spoken, but the look on Clara's face told her everything. Her heart broke into 1,000 pieces as she sank to the ground beside her daughter. The village soon learned of the tragedy that had befallen Clara. Whispers of horror spread like wildfire, and the people gathered in the square, their hearts heavy with grief and anger. The elders, wise and old, gathered under the great baobab tree to discuss what must be done. The village was in turmoil. Mothers wept for the innocents lost, and fathers spoke in angry tones about the man who had once been a brother to them. But the greatest sorrow lay in the heart of Clara's mother, Amina, who could not understand how her husband, the man she had loved and trusted, could have done such a thing. Amina stood before the elders, her face a mask of grief and fury. "Justice must be done," she declared, her voice steady but filled with pain. "He must pay for what he has done to my daughter, to all of us." The elders, their faces lined with age and wisdom, spoke softly to each other, knowing the gravity of the decision they were about to make. After much deliberation, they decided that Clara's father, Kwame, would be buried alive. This was the punishment for such a crime, a punishment that would ensure no other man would dare to harm the children of their village. The villagers, though saddened by the necessity of such an act, knew it was the only way to cleanse their land of the evil that had come upon them. Clara's father was led to the clearing, where a grave had been dug in the earth. His face was pale, and his eyes were wide with terror, for he knew the fate that awaited him. Kwame pleaded for mercy, but no one listened. The villagers, their faces grim, buried him in the earth, leaving him to face the consequences of his actions. After the earth settled over Clara's father's grave, the villagers stood in silence, their hearts heavy with sorrow. They knew that no punishment could ever bring back the innocence that had been lost, but they also knew that justice had been served. The elders spoke once more, their voices solemn but filled with hope. "Let this be a lesson," they said. "Our children are the future. They are the lifeblood of our village. We must protect them with all that we have. For the safety of the children is the safety of us all." The villagers vowed that they would never again allow such a tragedy to happen. They would teach their children to speak out against evil, to protect one another, and to never remain silent in the face of wrongdoing. From that day on, the village was a place of vigilance and love. The people knew that they must stand together to protect the children, and they promised to honor Clara's memory by making their village a safe place for all. And so, my friends, remember the story of Clara. Let it remind you that the protection of children is the most sacred duty we have, and that those who harm them must face the consequences. Let us all work together to build a world where every child can grow in safety and love.